How good was that bust up, guys? It's Ando from Boss Outdoor with this week's fishing report. So the salmon are firing, guys, still. It's just been the most phenomenal salmon bite that I can remember. But they have started to school up and they're moving quite frequently. So one day they're on the beach, one day they're in the estuary, one day they're way out offshore. It's amazing. Earlier in the week, I found a heap of them just south of Haycock, just tucked in around the back of Haystack Rock. There are heaps of bait schools there and there are heaps of salmon busting into them. And I threw a few soft plastics at them and come up trumps. Salmon. Oh. Good seeing them, they're everywhere. Size of the fish too, guys. So it's not just salmon smashing into those bait stocks, guys. There are actually some nice snapper among them as well. So fire a soft plastic into them or drop a bait down through those salmon and you might get some snapper. Now, ordinarily, they can be quite fussy when they're fixated on certain size bait. Interesting enough, today we've caught them on every possible colour, every possible shape in the bait junkie, the mollicks. It doesn't seem to matter. They're not huge fish, sort of back to that run-of-the-mill Merimbula panties, but hey, there's plenty of them. We're fishing about 36 metres of water and just setting up a nice drift, casting ahead of our drift, picking up a feed of snapper. Actually, that rod's on, I've got to go. So that rod that was buckling in the background resulted in a beautiful 51 centimetre snapper for my son. That was his first on soft plastic, so he was stoked with that. Also had my gorgeous wife out there with me that day, and she was also catching some nice fish. And as I mentioned, it didn't seem to matter about the size of the lures. We caught them on 7-inch soft plastics, right down to 4-inch jerk baits. So it's just a matter of getting out there, finding those bait schools, guys, and getting into a nice feed of snapper. So while my family and I only managed a few nice pan-sized snapper for a feed, Dave and Nick went out off Long Point and got some crackers.
Yeah, me and Nick come out this morning and to Long Point. We've been throwing plastics around and we've got some really nice fish. This one here tips out at 74. That one's getting up there into the high 60s as well. So two really good fish, both taken on the bait junkie wave minnow, the 5.5 wave minnow. I got mine on the red herring colour and Nick got his on the pink snapper glow. So they've been doing really well on the snapper at the moment. So still plenty of fish here, man. The size is just unbelievable. These fish are so fat, so heavy. And yeah, just an amazing morning out here. Seeing whales, seas flat, so it's been great. So yeah, snapper's still on. Come out over these school holidays, get some plastics and get into these mega fish.
Nice work, guys. Davo, hitting some form with those big snaps at the moment, mate. Well done. Well, let's talk about the beach fishing. So the beach fishing's still great. Plenty of salmon around, guys. Tura Beach is fishing well, and so is Main Beach. They have been a little hit and miss on Main, so they're moving around. As I mentioned earlier in the segment, you've got to try and find or locate those schools and cast into them. The water's quite clear. We haven't had a lot of swell, so they're not really feeding in the gutters as they normally would. So just try and stay mobile, look for those schools. There are some better gutters down towards Merimbula End, which they are sort of holding up in, so you could probably locate them better down there. And Merimbula gives you a few options, so there's a bit of rock fishing down there too, guys. So drummer, luderick, brim, cut some conservoy off as we've shown you in the past, some prawns or pilchards, and you should get a good feed of fish down there. The other option is you've got the Merimbula River, so you can venture around through the mouth and up a little bit. There are some salmon holding in the estuary as well, but the estuary is also producing some really nice flathead. And let's talk about some big flathead, because there are crackers, some absolute monsters coming out of the water at the moment. So young Sonny Risby's been throwing a few soft plastics around lately for flatties. He's been using the Crushed City from Rapala in the Suspect and catching some awesome fish. But not to be outdone by the old bull Scrivo, look at the size of this thing, guys. He caught that on a bait junkie prawn in the 5-inch size. Now ordinarily I would have thought to catch big flatties you've got to use a big bait, but it just goes to show as long as you've got a bait in the water, a presentation, a soft plastic, a lure, it doesn't really matter. If you're fishing, you have a chance. So maybe get hold of a few soft plastics this weekend and try and chase a few of those crocodiles. So there are other things to chase in the estuary too, guys. Your brim is still there, heaps of trevally in the Merimbula estuary. There are a few small trevally down here at Bar Beach in Merimbula. If you get up in the top lake in Merimbula, heaps of tailor. There are some flatties up there too, and I've also heard about some whiting starting to poke around on the flats. So potentially get that nipper pump out, pump some pink nippers, and maybe try for one of those whiting. It won't be long before they start really chewing hard, and I'll tell you what, there's nothing better to eat in the estuary than a beautiful sand whiting, guys. So if you want to chase some bass this weekend, guys, there are plenty around. There are some big fish to be caught. However, you're generally going to find those into the evening and into the night using some big surface lures or some wake baits. Can be kind of tricky to do if you don't know what you're doing, but if you want to fish those daylight hours, as our staff member Shane Shannon's been doing, he's been finding some beautiful little fish in the Brogo River. So find yourself a little pool, cast some spinner baits around or some hard bodies or even just a plastic frog, and you might score yourself a couple of nice little Aussie battlers. They're just great fun, and you tell you what, beautiful location where you catch these fish too, guys. Okay guys, the team at Boss Outdoor want to get you out and about these school holidays, whether it's on an e-bike, out in a tinny, or in a kayak fishing for those flatties. That's why for this week's fishing report deal, we're offering 50% of all rentals. That's half price, guys. Get on it. Well, that's it for this week's fishing report, guys. If you require any further information on the hooks, the lures, the bait, or where to find those big flathead, come into Boss Outdoor so we can hook you up. So if you're enjoying our videos, guys, remember to like and subscribe.